First of all, thank you all for coming. Merci beaucoup d'être venu. Just want to say a few words before I take a few questions. First of all, I think we got to give kudos to the Boston Bruins. It was a hard-fought series. Every game was a one-goal differential. They probably didn't have their full lineup as we did, but I think they gave us a run for our money. I think a lot of respect from our organization goes towards Don Sweeney. He came over after the series yesterday. It's not the easiest thing, but he shook my hand, and it's probably not the easiest thing to do, but a lot of respect for me towards him. It was a hard-fought series, as I mentioned. I think a lot of credit goes to our players. They fought to get home ice advantage. They deserve a lot of the credit. Now we're heading into, we got a little break here before we head into the next series. I think yesterday when we landed, seeing the fans at the airport, I think everyone saw Guy getting out of his car and shaking some of the fans' hands. I think that was great. I never lived playoff hockey, but I can tell you that I said a lot of things at the start of the year thinking this was a playoff team. I think one thing I didn't realize, and maybe I talk too much sometimes, maybe sometimes I don't talk enough, is that it's tough to get in the playoffs. And what this team has accomplished is winning one round. I think a lot of the credit has to go to our coaching staff and our players. I don't remember the building being as loud as it was for the 3 games here. I don't think I've had goosebumps as I had, and I think all our players had, as far as even a lot of them came up to me and spoke to me about how the first round was exciting, going through it. As a fan of hockey, I thought the first round was great. I think we had 18 games that went to overtime. We're really looking forward to round 2. We're really looking forward to opening at home. Besides that, I want to give a lot of credit to our team. I think our shots against were really down in the series. I think Guy's system really came in play. I think we frustrated the Bruins. I think to win in the playoffs and win the regular season, you have to be very good defensively. And again, a lot of credit goes to our players.
Pierre, in your eyes, what were some of the keys to advancing to round 2?
I think we did a lot of little things well. You just look, I know people are going to talk about, obviously, I think we're all so proud to be part of the moment where Clark scored yesterday. But in the third period, he blocked 2 shots. And those could have been goals. I know they scored not long after, but we did the little things. Like you see Clark blocking those 2 shots. You see Tommy Wingels drawing a penalty. You see Alex Burrows winning a battle on the wall that leads to our second goal. You see him killing a penalty so well late in the third. So I think we did a lot of little things well. And I think at the end of the day, that's what mattered. I think we scored goals when it mattered the most. And fortunately, that's why we're heading into playing hockey in May.
Hello, Pierre.
Hi, Terry.
I don't know that. Okay, there we go. What is you've got a little bit of a break. What is that going to do to help people heal, especially a captain who may have a hairline fracture in his foot or something?
It's a micro hairline fracture, I think it is. 2 of them.
But how important is the break going to be for?
I think the break will be really good. I think we're going to be fully healthy when we start on Thursday. There's a very good chance that we could have a full roster. We hope to have a full roster when we start Thursday. I think the fact that Eric talked about the excruciating pain that he was going through from at the end of the year and in the playoffs shows a lot about his character. The fact that he talked about it tells us that it's almost healed. I think people saw the padding on his skate and could figure out things, so I don't think it was a big secret. But I think once Thursday comes around, I think we'll have a very good chance of having all. Not, in the playoffs, no one's ever at 100%. I think the 18 guys that dress and the 2 goalies that dress are probably none of them are at 90% even. But for the most part, that's what playoff hockey is: battling through injuries, battling through little nicks, and trying to do it for your teammates and for yourself.
Bruce and then Gord.
I just wanted to,
How you drove all the way from Boston this morning?
No, we came from Vermont.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Into the mic first, please.
Oh, you just talk about. Were you surprised that Carlson said that he had that injury? That's usually something you don't hear about until the end of a playoff. And what does it say that he was able to play through it?
Well, was I surprised? A bit. What does it say? The man, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but, whether you believe in whatever you believe in, they always say God rested on the seventh day. I think on the eighth day, he created Erik Karlsson. We're fortunate to have Erik Karlsson. So, surprised, yeah, but I know the injury wasn't bothering him as much as it was when we played Detroit. But he made the call. He phoned me that afternoon and said, I'm coming down. I said, well, no, you got to rest up. Hopefully we can get in the playoffs. And he just made the call and I'm coming down. So that day we got a plane for him to come down. And I know he played through a lot of pain in those two games to get us into the playoffs. And then the injuries healed over time. And he's not 100%. He won't be 100% probably till next September. But the ability that he has to play through pain and to be as dominant as he has, not being 100%, says a lot about him. Guy did say he was 150%, which didn't quite add up, but anyways.
Two other things.
Yes,
Number
Bruce.
one, you said that last spring you felt this was a playoff team, or when you got the job, you felt that this was a playoff team. And when you got into the playoffs, you said you wanted to make some noise. Do you feel like you still have the opportunity to make some more noise here?
Well, the building was certainly loud enough that we can all make noise. You know what? We're down to one of 8 teams. If you would have told me last April 10th that we'd be down to one of 8 teams playing hockey in May, I think we would have all taken that scenario. But I think, the Rangers, we all watched that series attentively. That's probably the series I watched the most between Montreal and New York, and they're a good team. They're fast. They compete. They skate. Boston was tough. The Rangers are going to be tougher. They've got an elite goaltender. They've got many world-class players. We could stand here and talk about how good they are. But in saying that, it's a 7-game series. There have been surprises in playoffs, and we're not going to take anything for granted. And hopefully we can make a bit more noise.
I think the 3 Masterton nominees or finalists are named tonight, and I'm just going to assume that Craig Anderson will be on that list. What can you say about Craig Anderson this season?
You know more than me then.
No, but what would you say about Craig Anderson this season?
Craig. We can talk for about an hour. I think Craig was one of the I've always felt Craig is one of the top goalies in the league. I think internally we felt that he's one of the best goalies in the league. In previous years, we've given up a lot of quality scoring chances against. We haven't done that this year. It showed in his save percentage. It showed in his ability to win. I think when you look at what probably the person you love the most on earth is going through what they're going through, and his ability to block it out, to focus on his teammates, I don't know how I can put that into words. He comes here. He's as good pro as I've ever seen in my NHL career. He allows us to win every game. Like some of those saves he made yesterday in the third period when we were on our heels. I don't know how many goalies in the game make saves like that. And at the same time, his wife is in the crowd. She hasn't seen him in over a month almost, 3 weeks. And it just speaks so much about his focus for the game, but at the same time, his love for his family, his love for his wife. And it was just great to see her after the game. And it was great that we're doing this for ourselves, our organization, but at the same time for what Nicole's going through.
Pierre, can you expand a little bit and update the injury situation involving Mark Borowiecki and Tom Pyatt?
I think Tom skated yesterday. I was getting treated at the same time he was getting treated today. He looks good. I think he'll be available for Thursday. As far as Mark, I think will skate tomorrow, and I think there's a good chance he could be available for Thursday too.
And your update? Your
Well, I ran on a treadmill, and thinking that I'm still young and in great shape, I hurt my left knee, and Jerry took care of it today.
Lower body.
Lower body.
Just a couple questions. First, your team had a few overtime games in this series. How much experience do you think some of those young guys gained from playing in games like that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think a lot of our guys gain a lot of experience through the overtimes, but through the rigors of a series that was so tough. Again, I'll probably get in trouble, but Dion told me on the plane yesterday that's the toughest series he's ever been through. And for coming from Dion Phaneuf, who I think has been just outstanding through the grind here, through us making the playoffs and in the playoffs, and him having to go against Backus or him having to go against a Pasternak line, for him to come up and say, Pierre, that was the toughest series I've ever been part of, I think says a lot about the Boston Bruins. And I said it says a lot about the character that we're trying to build here. From the get-go, when we added players through the year, or when we signed Chris Kelly, or when we got Wingles, Stahlberg, Burrows, they've been character additions. And our younger guys can just learn from them. Our guys that might have been a bit older that haven't been through the playoff wars can learn from those guys. And that's where I think this team is gaining as far as experience.
Just secondly, on the overtimes, with each series pretty much getting tougher, do you have any worries or concerns about having played that many overtimes in the first round?
Not really, because I think there's been so many overtimes this year that every team is going through it. But at the same time, it reflects a bit on our depth. I know there's a lot of internal competition, and the coaches have tough decisions to make. And, yesterday taking Kelly out and putting Wingles in, that was a great decision, I think, by them. No slight on Chris Kelly or anyone. But we have a lot of depth now. That's why we made some of these trades, was to be able to, we knew that injuries would come. We had injuries at the end of the year. So it just speaks volume that, I think we have enough depth that we'll be able to sustain however long we go, but the Rangers are going to be a very tough opponent. They're well coached. Jeff Gordon, their GM, sits beside me at every GM's meeting. We talk a lot. I know everyone knows here about Alain. He's one of the better coaches in the league, and we're going to have our hands full.
Pierre, you're coming off a series, and I think the home team won one game.
Yeah, it's tough.
Why is home ice not more of an advantage?
Well, at times it can be. If we went to Game 7, I can tell you I would be very happy to have it here. I didn't really want to go to Game 7. But I think starting the series here, having this break and being here, not having to travel, it gives us a break, allows our body to recuperate and rest. So I think as the playoffs go on, having home ice advantage can be something good for you. But saying that, we won 3 games on the road in this series. I think 2 of the 3 went to overtime, so the game's played on the ice. Sometimes the building doesn't matter, but I think starting this round at home, I think really helps our cause.
Could you talk a little bit about Derek Brassard and what he's meant all along? You told us this was a guy that would show his worth in the playoffs. He took a bit of heat because he didn't produce a whole lot during the regular season, but turns out to be pretty good in the playoffs so far.
I still think you did pretty well in the regular season. Our analytics people tell me that he was our best forward. So there was history there. When we made the deal, we knew there was history. We felt that, I talked about it, I think in one of my opening press conferences. Why not now? Why not believe in us? And when a lot of exit interviews last year, it was like, when all these players get a bit older, we'll be better. When I didn't like that mind frame. I don't think Randy Lee liked that mind frame. I don't think when we interviewed Guy, he liked that mind frame. And for us, it was about, what kind of piece can we add that, if we're fortunate enough to get in the playoffs, and it is a grind to get in the playoffs, that we could have a piece, someone that's been through those wars. And Derek showed in the past that he was one of the Rangers' best players in the playoffs, and arguably he was one of our better players in these playoffs so far. And we hope that can continue. It won't be easy. We know he's going to get a lot of attention, but he's gotten a lot of attention before, and he seemed to thrive on it. So we hope that can continue.
Bobby Ryan had an X-ray. Guy let us know yesterday that he was X-rayed during the game. Can you tell us what body part was x-rayed and how things turned
Between the forehead and the heel.
out? Nothing serious then that's going to keep him? Okay.
One thing about Bobby Ryan, he took a beating from Chara like I've never seen in my life in the series. Never complained once about it. And when you get hit constantly by someone who's 6'9" and stronger than most human beings, it's not fun. Never complained, did his job, scored big goals. He's played through a lot of injuries, especially this year. And he's kept on battling, and he deserves a lot of credit. And I know people think Guy and I are crazy when we thought he was playing well at the last part of the year and the puck wasn't going in. Well, I think through his hard work, now the puck's going in, but he's still playing as well, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. To come back yesterday and battle, a lot of guys, as I said before, not many guys are at 100% in that dressing room, but they're going to play, and I think Bobby deserves a lot of credit for that.
When Clark came to you and said he wanted to play, did you try to talk him out of it?
No, but I'll say no and I'll answer. First and foremost, it's about someone's life and health. And you see someone going through 4 concussions in a matter of 18 months, and you think about his wife, his 2 kids, and you say, we have an obligation here. And are we doing the right thing? And as I said in the press conference when he came back, it wasn't just like one doctor we talked to. We talked to multiple doctors to making sure, and the person that wanted it the most was Clark MacArthur. And Mr. Melnick also spoke to Clark to make sure that, just don't do this to do it for just try to see if you can play. Do it because you have a purpose. And I think Clark had a purpose, and Clark's thing, when he always talked to me, was, I know I can help this team. And let's not fool ourselves. He helped this team a lot. Yeah, another one?
You've clearly, players deserve a lot of credit, but has Guy in some ways surpassed your expectations as to how well he's gotten everyone to buy into his system and how quickly he's managed to get it done?
That's a trick question. No, he hasn't. I always thought he was a great coach. I always said he was the first guy interviewed. Did 9 interviews last year. To me, we had a connection right away. I knew we needed to play better defensively to have success. All the teams that have success in the playoffs play good, sound defensive hockey. I think he came as advertised. We have a great working relationship. We talk a lot. Maybe sometimes we talk too much to each other. We're both at times crazy emotional Frenchmen, but we know how to talk to each other. One thing I've learned, a lot of teams that have a lot of success, I think the relationship between GM and coach is very good and they're on the same page. We won't agree on everything. But his job is to coach. And he actually gave me a good compliment about a week ago. He said, Pierre, you let me coach to the best of my ability. And I believe in that. My job is to manage. I oversee all hockey operations. His job is to coach. And I always say he's got the toughest job in Ottawa. It's not me. It's not the Prime Minister of Canada. It's not the Mayor of Ottawa. He's got the toughest job. And for him to do what he was able to do with this group of players is pretty good. Now, every day he came and bugged me about, I want this, I want that, I want this, but I got used to it. But he did a great job. He deserves a lot of credit. I think first and foremost, the players buying in, they deserve the most credit. Because a lot of people felt that we weren't a playoff team to start off. A lot of people felt that we weren't going to win a round of playoffs, and the players have showed that, that there's a lot of character on this team. That's the one thing. It's fun to be around those guys. Yesterday, I don't go in the room too often, but yesterday I went in the room and he gave a good speech. And you know what? It was fun. It's fun to see some of those guys, win. And, we still got a long road ahead of us. And this series is going to be tough, but I think he's done a great job this year. And the whole coaching staff. That penalty kill in the third period, that's A+ stuff.